Field by field, Maizex is bringing Canadian seed to farmers across Canada. Maizex is your source for high-performance soybeans and grain, silage, and grazing corn hybrids. Visit maizex.com to find your local Maizex representative.
Hey, welcome back to Real Agriculture. My name is Chase Chambers, and today I'm here with Troy Aberley of Ag Powerhouse, and we're going to be talking about the top 5 things to consider when buying equipment for your farm. So first, before we get into it, can we just talk about why these things are important to farmers?
I think that we don't talk enough about the stresses that actually happen at the kitchen table on farms. And what I'm really understanding is over the past nearly 2 decades of being a part of agriculture, not only as a farmer, but also as someone who's sold a lot of products and services in the industry, I'm realizing that there's a lot of things that we're not talking about. We're looking for fancy language and commission breath type tactics that are, how do you figure out how to buy something? But I think that there's more to it, and there's more stresses now than ever, and these challenges are not only causing havoc on our operations today, but also for the future generations that we're trying to attract to run our farms and operations.
Right. And then do you want to go through just what the 5 things you should consider are?
Yeah. So, and again, these criteria aren't just for the farmer, it's also for the dealership, because I think there needs to be accountability on both. Right now, the farmer talks about price being the most important. And actually, when you do enough research on it, I did a research paper and looking at other research documents that were done by other manufacturers, and then also interviewing producers and dealers. There's actually 5 top criteria that are the most important and were the most what came out of finding out what was successful and not. So number 1 is actually the availability of parts. Parts for your specific piece of equipment in a time that's reasonable, so that you can, when you break down or have a challenge, that you have a way of getting that part really quickly so that you can be up and running. These things are worth too much money, and downtime due to an O-ring or a part is extremely frustrating. Number 2 is the need for service technicians that are actually trained and on your particular piece of equipment, on the model and everything else, because there's nothing, again, worse than having a technician come out to your place or bringing something in and finding out that they've never actually had any experience on your product. And so if the dealership is taking time and you're to get to know who you are, and you're taking the time to get to know who the dealership is and talking about the equipment and the service needs that you have, they could be doing a better job at training. So it's having that availability to make sure that that's understood, that the dealership you're working with can service those needs. Number 3 is the need for training. There's more and more training that is becoming more available, yes, but since the pre-pandemic and up till now, we've had this challenge where not enough training for the features and products and technologies that we're investing in actually is really fluent amongst the operators and the ownership of the operation. So if you take a look at a lot of hired men, that some people can't have different language barriers, is one of the factors, but also the fear of asking for help, and often can operate something for quite a period of time, not really knowing how to do that. And when you go to the dealership, you should be able to find someone who can train. Because of the amount of turnover, and even in the dealership and those challenges, we're finding that there's more and more opportunities where, we learn something as a textbook or in a classroom, but then when we get into the field, a lot of time goes by. Number 4 is the price. Is the price fair, clear? Do we understand how to finance it, lease it, which pieces are doing that? And then number 5 is the need for figuring out what is the total cost of ownership. How much should a piece of equipment cost per hour, per acre, per bushel, per livestock? What are those criterias, and how often do we flip equipment or invest, or we buy new, used, but understanding that total cost of ownership so that the payment or the amount that's being depreciated matches with what it is that your operation produces.
Awesome. And is there any of these that are more important than some, or that people need to focus on more?
I think knowing what to buy, when to buy it, and how it's going to be maximized to be in the field and do everything it's supposed to do and be supported is all encompassed into one umbrella. Yes, and prices are becoming, very high, and equipment purchasing is very expensive. So as other costs, fertilizer, chemicals, land. For instance, in the example I shared today, land has quadrupled in not very many years. And so right now, as these expenses go up, you're looking at, you either need to cut back on costs per acre, or you need to grow more acres to be able to account for all of these extra inflated prices. And if you can't figure out neither, you're going to be in a place that sustainability is not going to be a very effective outcome.
Right. And what are the final takeaways from a farmer's perspective from this?
I think as we look and notice that there's more and more younger people that would love to farm, and they're seeing a lot of excitement. There's new technologies, and there's a lot of things that are very interesting, and now being able to produce even more food than we've ever known before. I think helping them understand what is the next step. You know, when you take a person who's 15, 16 years old, how do they take that next step now? Because a lot of farms aren't big enough for multi-sets of families. How can we show them how to align themselves with the human resources or the financial experts, building a power team so that they could build out a really solid business plan so that it's very clear and concise, and that investors or laborers, partners, all of those people all can come together to build that farm or that dream that young person has. If we do that, that's going to cause us to get more efficient as a person that's already experienced in the industry, but also then we can start to set some new paradigms and habits for the generations to follow.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.